How to find your muse, Shaikha.
I think James' introduction is going to be longer than my presentation. So thanks for that. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so humbled and grateful to see so many different faces, different cultures, from different countries. It's so beautiful to see how many people I can inspire, not only Arab women, but people from all around the world. So initially, Randa, she emailed me, and I wasn't even supposed to be in the country. But I don't know what happened. Life happens, and I had to move my flight a week, and I reached out to her and I said, I want this to be my last talk, and it's going to be the last talk of the year because I'm moving to Spain. So this is kind of like an inspirational presentation. Well, I don't even want to use I don't even use presentations in my talks. I always sit on the floor. People are like, why is she sitting on the floor? Or, can we get you a chair? Like, no, I'm good. I can sit on the floor. It's fine. I know. I saw the camera and I'm like, oh, I need to move. So she reached out to me and she said the theme is Muse. I was like, Muse? Like, that's some fashion designer, I don't know, I didn't understand it. She tried to explain it, etc. And I said, well, I'll figure something out. And when I was in Abu Dhabi, I ordered a cup of coffee, and that was the cup of coffee. And it said, if you're searching for that one person that will change your life, take a look in the mirror. And this was the universe telling me this should be your message. So I said to Randa and Kat, be your own muse, be the change you're looking for. Right? So about me, I'm Shaikha Al Qassemi. I have to keep thinking about staying in I get a bit nervous and walk around. So my name is Shaikha Al Qassemi. I'm 30 years old. I know, I look 16. I'm trying to light up the mood here. So I'm from Sharjah. My parents are pretty liberal and open-minded. I grew up in Sharjah. I grew up in the country. I've never lived anywhere else. I've never moved out of the country. I spent a lot of time in the UK and for the summer or for the winter, but most of the time I studied here. I grew up here. A lot of people think that is impossible because that doesn't match what that is, you know? And I didn't really understand it either because I felt like I grew up in a place where I didn't connect with anything. And coming from a household that was very Western, and we grew up very Western. My parents studied in the UK, they studied in the US. My two sisters lived in the US for a couple of years, and they were very Western as well. So it kind of like spread into the household. And every time that we would travel to the UK, I would feel like I'm at home. And every time I came here, I felt like, well, I feel like I had a culture shock. I was very confused of where I actually belonged. So I would say my childhood was pretty confusing. And it was hard for me to try to fit in or make sense of things because my first language is English and my second language is Arabic. And for a lot of Arabs, that is very offensive. And I say, well, they're just words and they're just a language. If I can communicate with you and you can communicate with me, what's the problem with that? But there's something about people that know their culture and know their heritage, and they take so much pride in that, and they love that so much that they don't want anybody to offend it. And for me, it was very hard to be myself in that because it's not about me hurting other people or it's not about me trying to offend anyone. I just wanted to be myself, and it was very hard. Fast forward a couple of years later, I moved to a school in Dubai, and the school in Dubai was the hardest 2 years of my life because I was the only local that didn't speak Arabic and didn't understand Arabic. And I begged for the school to put me in a special Arabics class, and they said, well, it doesn't exist, so you have to deal with it. I was the youngest one in all 7 classes because I was bumped up 2 grades when I was a kid. Not because I'm smart, they just do that. And it was very hard to fit in. And it wasn't much about being physically bullied. It was more about alienating me out of circles. And as many times as I tried to fit into these circles, it was always, well, you don't fit in, you don't understand our language, you don't understand the poetry, you don't understand who Fazza is. And I'm not joking, and I've said this with embarrassment before. I didn't know who Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid was. I didn't know. And people had his face on badges, and I'm like, why do you have his face on who's that guy? Like, he's a poet, he's the son of the crown prince, way back when. And I'm like, why do you have him on your t-shirt like that? What do you mean? Like, he writes poetry about love. And I'm like, okay, and for that, to be disconnected by that was something that people didn't understand, because I was the one that was reading Shakespeare, reading books, watching Western television, writing poetry. I've been a writer since I was 13 years old. I wrote stories, I wrote poetry all of my life. So it was very hard for me to try to fit into that. So for me, it was a constant fight and a constant battle, not only in my social life, it was also a constant battle at home, because I was the black sheep. I was the one that was always trying to go against the grain. I was the one that was on the motorbike doing circles in the tennis court. And and then when I fall down and there's blood everywhere, I was like, well, I told you shouldn't be a boy. I'm like, Mom, I'm not a boy, I just want to have fun. Playing with Barbies is not fun for me, I'm just different. But of course, they didn't understand that. And for my parents, it was just fear, because they don't want me to be something that is not accepted. So they tried to change me, and they tried to protect me from being alienated. But for me, I already knew that I was alienated. I already knew that I was rejected by society and people and my cousins. It was always in and out of these circles of not being accepted, trying to be accepted, etc. And I got to the point where depression took over my life. And a lot of people started talking about depression when I started talking about depression on Instagram. And I took it upon myself to take that responsibility to talk about depression and talk about anxiety and insomnia and all of these things, because it's not imaginary. Not even for kids. This is not imaginary. It does exist. Parents need to open up their minds. They need to open up their eyes. And it's very hard for parents to accept or even understand the concept of, my child has everything. She has money. She's living under a roof. She's eating food. She's not starving. We put her in a good school. She has friends. She has everything. You have clothes, you have bags, you have shoes. Why are you depressed? You should be happy. You should be grateful that you're privileged. And it's not about that. It's not about the food on the table. It's not about the clothes. It's not about all these things. It's about who I am trying to be and aligning that with the life that I want to lead. It wasn't about me not being grateful for all these materialistic things, but all these materialistic things, as much as we need or we want it, it doesn't fulfill who we are inside. So throughout my teenage years till about 21, and even in Zayed University, I was an outcast, by the way. There were crazy rumors about me being, I can't even say, I can't even say this on camera, but only because I was different. Because I walked into the university with abaya that was open, wearing skinny jeans, and my hair was blonde. And they're like, who does she think she is? Who is this girl? And because I didn't wear designer clothes or designer bags or diamonds for university, don't even ask. But this is what girls do to fit in. And I just didn't want to fit in. Even though I kept trying to fit into different circles, I slowly started losing myself. I felt like I was disintegrating. I felt like myself was constantly being stepped on just to be accepted by parents, family, humans, whatever. And it was this constant battle. So I got to a point in my life where it was the last year of university. I just wanted to get it over and done with. And with all the pressure and stress, and I wasn't living with my parents, I was living with my grandmother, and I felt like I was being pushed out from all ends of my life, and I started to have suicidal thoughts. And it was very hard to tell myself not to end my life. It was very hard for me to say, one day I'll be accepted. Sorry. I don't cry in front of people. This is not okay. Yeah, it was very hard. And people don't know it. Everybody sees Kiki for CrossFit on Instagram and always smiling. And it's shunned upon, and it's looked down on for people to be this vulnerable. But this vulnerability encourages me to be courageous. I can't stress enough how this vulnerability and opening up to people and opening up to the public and talking has made me so brave and so strong that I really took charge of my life. So when I was introduced to CrossFit, it sparked something in me. I couldn't explain what it was. I explained it yesterday in an interview because I actually put it into words. So I had a full-time job because my parents were stressing me to get a full-time job. What are we going to say our family? You're not doing anything with your life, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I like. I studied PR and advertising, but PR and advertising as a career, it's death. I would work from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. It is honestly like it kills your life. I'm not trying to scare anybody here. But for where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, I had this concept of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to take my life there. I can't sit on a desk for too long. I don't want to be running around doing something that I don't want. So I decided to quit my job once I started CrossFit. And I would say it was the best years of my life and the hardest years of my life. I walked into the CrossFit class and nobody knew who I was. I didn't have a last name. I only had a first name, which is awesome because some people are like, oh, your last, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk to you or shake. I'm like, chill. So I introduced myself to the class, joined the class, we all trained, and that was that. There was no politics, no religion, no culture, no tradition, no judgment. You come in here, you train, high five, let's go get pancakes. So for me, that was like, wow, I could actually, this is probably where I fit in. And of course, all my life, I hated my shoulders. And every person that I met would say, oh, are you a swimmer? I'm like, no, I've never been in a pool. And they're like, but how do you have big shoulders? I'm like, it's genetic. I don't know. I don't know why. Oh, but your legs are massive. Oh, you have biceps. And I'm not joking. I had biceps since I was 14. Only because I used to wrestle with my cousins. Don't tell my dad. So my body was different, but still people constantly told me like, oh, you should be feminine, or you should look like a woman, you should da-da-da. And of course, before I started CrossFit, yes, I punished myself a lot, starved myself a lot, trained way too much, made sure that, like I didn't have any little, flabs and whatever. Only to fit into this group of skinny girls and for them to accept me and be like, oh, Kiki looks so sexy. Oh, okay, thanks. So when I joined CrossFit and I was given this bar, like, okay, so lift it. And I was like, whoa, this is light. add more weights. And I lifted again. Whoa, this is light. Add more weights. And I just felt this incredible power in me. And I was like, God, I think this is what you made my body for. I started squatting, lifting, moving fast, jumping. And I was like, okay, now I understand why this was made the way it was. So I embraced it, and I embraced it completely. I didn't know what was the plan, what I was doing with my life. I was like, I'll just do it. Let's see where it goes. So, of course, the pressures of being an athlete was through the roof, because not only is it that you always have to reach for that number one spot, because, of course, we're in Dubai. If you're not number one, you don't exist. So it was always this constant pressure. You need to be number one. You need to make podium. You need to da-da-da. And then on top of that, it was, well, you're a woman. You shouldn't be doing this. What about raising a family? What about getting married? And what does your family say about you? What about your relatives? What about your country? What about, and then they constantly put one pressure over the next on top of my head, just saying, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, etc. And for me, of course, living a life of not being accepted anyway, was like, well, no matter what you throw at me anyways, like, it's not what, I lived through that. So fighting through this is nothing for me right now. So I continue to pursue CrossFit. I continue to pursue something that I loved. And so this is a quote that I saved while I was scrolling through Instagram. I was like, this would be perfect for this bit. Let people criticize you. That's their self-defense for their inadequacies. It's about what they can't do. It's not only about what they can't do, it's about what they are fearful of. Because I understand if a mother is trying to raise her child to be a certain way, and her child sees a video of me lifting, and she says, Mama, I want to be like this when I grow up. And that's instant fear in the mom, because she doesn't want her kid to be that. Of course, it would be badass, but can I say badass? Okay. I'll try to keep it G-rated. But yeah, there's a lot of fear because I'm something that is completely different than what people are used to. But don't put yourself in that box. Because if you put yourself in that box of what people expect you to be, then you don't get to express who you actually are and what your truth is on this earth. Because if you're constantly trying to be other people and trying to please other people, and you don't put all that energy into yourself, then you honestly lose yourself. And that's what I did all my life. So this was cool. I saw this video as well on Instagram. Instagram's awesome, right? I mean, there's some good in it as well. So Lady Gaga, she's a successful singer. Dancer too, I mean, but singer. And, whoops. Is it napping? Did I take too long? Well, Lady Gaga, she's a successful singer. And she studied to be an actor. She wanted to be an actress. And Vera Wang is a fashion designer. She wanted to be an Olympic skater. Sorry? Oh, me. I wanted to be a lawyer. I grew up watching Ally McBeal and... I know, right? Emirati Arab in the desert watching Ally McBeal. It's crazy. So I grew up watching Ally McBeal, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be like that. And what I wanted to study was media law. So this was back in 2006, when I went to ZU. I told my parents, listen, there's something called Facebook right now. And I know the media world is going to blow up because, you know, I'm studying in it right now, and I can see, you know, I had a vision. I was like, okay, this is going to happen. And I was like, I really love to study law, and I want to study law in media. And my parents were like, you're crazy. Why do you want to study that? I'm like, because it's the future. They're like, no, you have to study Sharia law. I'm like, I don't want to study Sharia law because Sharia law has nothing to do with internet. They're like, no, these are the rules of the country. I'm like, no, there is other opportunities in the future that I know of. But of course, because they're your parents and you have to listen to them. So I ended up in ZU with this guy. And I studied PR and advertising. And I mean, that's how I got all my followers on Instagram. No. Okay.
I don't know where you're from.
See,
Just
I needed guidance. Now I don't know what's next. I don't have it on my phone. I have it on my laptop.
It's come back up.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So the moment you put yourself in a box, it restricts you from reaching your highest potential. So if I were to put myself in a box and studied PR and advertising, led a life in PR and advertising, opened my PR firm, whatever that it is, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be following my dreams, talking to people, inspiring people to follow their dreams.
Yeah, I know. We're inspired. Keep talking.
This is going to be the funniest presentation, like video on Creative Mornings. People will be like, okay. Oh, you'll edit. Don't edit. Keep it raw. It's fun. I still have time. Okay. No, it's okay. Leave it. I have the button. The button's not working. It's okay. It's okay.
Tell me when you want to.
Yeah, don't worry. No, it's before.
Okay. Keep going.
So it restricts you from reaching your highest potential. Your creativity becomes limited. So your creative energy, everything that flows in here, the more that you ignite it, the more that you generate more fire, it grows and grows and grows. And all of that gets channeled into your future. And if you put that in a box, then you become limited. So your growth becomes on hold. And you feel stagnant and you feel like you're on autopilot. And I felt that for a lot of years in my life. I felt like I was on autopilot because I wasn't really sure who I was, where my life was going. And the people around me were always telling me where I should be, what I should do. And for me, it didn't make sense because I knew that there was something different, something more for me in the future. And that's why people are too afraid for change. They want to remain the same because it's very comfortable for them to stay where they are. It is scary to get out of your comfort zone, but once you're out of that, the growth is limitless. We're in total abundance. And you should always believe that. The moment that you feel like you are limited in any area of your life will be limited. And this is a mindset. It's not about materialistic things or financial things or money, it's energy and it's life and it's everything that evolves around us. So Platform Fitness Gym is a gym that I set up 3 years ago. And I wanted to create a space of knowledge, space of education, and a place for women to work out in, people to bond, a larger community, a lot of support. And we hosted the first ladies-only summit in the Gulf. We hosted the first ladies-only competitions. We hosted the first nutrition workshops. We talk a lot about women. And we bring specialists from all around the world to help women grow and to educate women as well. Because a lot of these things, we don't learn it from our parents. We don't learn it from school. We don't learn it from university. We don't know how to eat. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. And we're always running after that goal. We're always chasing where we need to chase. We're always going, moving. There's no time to relax. There's no time to eat. There's no time to take time to think about yourself. So we created a space for women to take that 1 hour and support each other for growth. And through that journey, I've started to learn to love myself. How many of you have opened the book and it said, love yourself, look in the mirror, tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself every morning, I am powerful. Of course, if you keep repeating it, maybe at some point you would think you are, but are you really honoring yourself? Are you truly loving yourself? Or are you just looking at the external picture? So these are some things that I did for myself. I saw that I was sabotaging myself a lot, even through my CrossFit journey, setting up my gym, coaching, business, etc., talks, whatever that I did in the past 6 years. There was always points in my life where I was self-sabotaging myself. Felt like I was still not worth it. I still don't deserve it. Why am I here? Why was I given this? So, I opened my gym out of pressure. I opened my gym because it is what is expected from a local woman. From an Emirati woman, for you to be an athlete, you don't exist. Yeah, sure, you're exercising. Okay, you are competing. And then what? What about your future? What about making money? What about having children? And all of these things, even though it's a cultural thing, it's also a trendy thing. It's a trendy thing to be an entrepreneur. It's a trendy thing to be married and have kids. I know so many people that got married because their friends got married. They don't even want to get married. They don't even want kids. They don't want a home. They don't even know what they want because they've never been on their own. They've never sat on their own and discovered who they truly are. They never ask themselves questions because they're always following trends. Everybody's a goat. I was a goat. Everybody was a goat. So it's very important to, I wouldn't say like a crazy person talk to yourself, but really ask yourself questions. And write those things down. Because the more that you ask yourself questions, have faith in the universe, God, whatever you believe in, that everything will be channeled through you and it will be expressed. Because you are opening doors when you ask questions. So don't give in to trends, because trends live and they die. You don't want to live and die. You want to continue to grow, right? Don't conform to societal expectations. Marriage, kids, well. Create a routine that makes you happy. So something that I started doing, I was miserable. Beginning of this year, 2 years ago, I opened a gym, and for me, the gym, even though it was rewarding for me to give, I didn't give anything to myself because I was constantly giving. And this year, I took it upon myself to really give myself that time. And I wake up extra early, take my dog out for a walk, put some nice jazz music, make some fancy specialty coffee, enjoy an hour, 10 minutes, whatever that it is. And then on my time, on my terms, when I feel like, okay, today is the day that I drive, of course, not an hour in traffic, to work and then start my day. It wasn't a struggle anymore. It wasn't me dragging myself to try to achieve something. It was me willingly putting that time after I give myself that time. If we are on autopilot and we are running on empty all the time because you are constantly giving for your work, giving to your family, giving whatever. Even when you wake up in the morning, the second you pick up your phone, you scroll through Instagram, you're giving yourself to Instagram. And I'm not lying, I do that. But I do that for 2 seconds, and I'm like, nope, okay, done. Because you need to give yourself that time. That's very important. And through doing that, you are loving yourself. Because that's when you honor yourself and your time and your existence to yourself, not to others. Clear your path from whatever distracts you, whatever energies that drain you, and whatever environments take you down. I Wouldn't say that I lost a lot of friends, but I chose to take myself out of circles. I chose not to go to family gatherings. I chose not to go to weddings. I chose not to be at a Ramadan gathering. Because I know, I know once I am put myself in that situation, I am drained. Because it's either somebody's talking gossip, it's either somebody is, I wouldn't say, it's very hard living my whole day training and eating and focusing all these things, and then I meet someone and the first thing they say, oh Kiki, you know, like I've been trying to lose this fat, and I'm like, hi, how's your day? Can we talk about something other than fitness? I live fitness. So I took myself out of those situations because I felt like I was constantly giving, felt like I was drained. I felt like a lot of these places and environments were hindering me from where I want to be. Because in these circles, they're, okay, so when are you done with your CrossFit thing? When is it time for you to get married? Oh, you still do that? Oh, you still go, but you don't even make podium anymore. What's the point? So for me, taking myself out of those situations helped me grow, helped me really discover myself and know truly who I was. Because I gave myself time and that energy to grow. And so this is something that I always say, like, don't worry about finding your passion, because it's such a pressure. People are like, oh, I found my passion, it's my passion. I didn't know what my passion was, honestly. I did hair and makeup when I was young. I opened a bakery. I baked cookies and I sold them. I did fashion, hair and makeup for fashion shows. I'd done everything, but nothing made me feel what I felt when I did CrossFit. That's what I knew. So try everything. You don't know what your passion is, and don't let anybody tell you what your passion is. Whatever you feel like ignites you, whatever you feel like fires you, that is something that you should constantly do, because that is what's going to align you to your future. That's what's going to align you to your growth, and that turns into passion eventually. Whoops. We did this, right? Okay. So Mel Robbins is a speaker. I recently followed her on Instagram, and every time I watch her videos, like I tear up and I'm like, I want to be her one day. I want to be Ellen and Oprah. So like, and inspiring people, constantly inspiring people, because it's so important for you to have that wake-up call and really stop distracting yourself from everything that's external, from anything that is really stopping you from what your purpose is on life. We all have a purpose, no matter what it is. Doesn't have to be something incredible. It could be being a mother and having kids and raising your kids to be crazy amazing. So taking action will interrupt the excuses. If you constantly take action, it will interrupt you telling yourself you can't. Somebody telling yourself you shouldn't. Telling you shouldn't. The pattern and fears, whether it's disappointment, whether it's from your parents, judgment from people, whatever that it is, these things can stop you forever. If I had listened to people telling me, you shouldn't do this, when are you getting married? And then I settle down, I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting it. I'm going to wake up one day and be like, well, I wish I did. So I took it upon myself to never say no, but also say no. So the second you push yourself to get started through taking action itself, you are proving to yourself, even though you care about what everybody else thinks, because at certain points in your life, of course, you do care at a certain extent what people think, because you don't want to hurt people at the same time, right? You're going to do it anyway, because this is your benefit. It's for yourself and for your growth as well. So, limiting beliefs. Who has a limiting belief here? Do you know what limiting beliefs are? Does anybody not know what a limiting belief is? So we grow up being programmed by everything around us. We are being programmed by our families. We are being programmed by society, magazines, television. When I was a kid, I watched television. I'm like, I want to be a Disney princess. I can never be a Disney princess. But when you're a kid, there's no such thing as impossible, because nobody is actually programming you to think that, no, you can't, no, you shouldn't, right? As a kid, you don't have any type of fear. You get on that motorbike, flip, break your leg. It's okay, mom, cast. 10 days later, you're on the motorbike again. So limiting beliefs is something that I had to work on so much in the past year. I had this incredible belief in myself that I am not good enough to be an athlete because of a lot of injuries and things that stopped me along the way. I was constantly telling myself, I can't. And I had to work through them. And of course, with growing up in a society that, women are expected to be a certain way and I'm not what they expect, I can't because I'm a woman. You can't dress like that. You should cover up. You can't go out on your own. You can't train with men. You can't compete with men. You can't travel on your own. You can't, etc., etc. And of course, I can't because I'm not good enough. That's something that I really worked on. And I can't because, and then you fill in the blanks. And you work on that. That's when you start really asking yourselves, what is stopping me from reaching where I want to reach? Wherever it is. Even if it's baking a cake. You can tell yourself you can't bake a cake. But the second that you tell yourself, no, it's just a limiting belief, let me try. It's something as simple as that. And then you try it and you succeed. I mean, flipping a pancake, the first one always, burns, right? But then you're like, okay, temperature's too high. We learn from things and it's okay. But we have to constantly work on ourselves and ask ourselves questions. What are things that are stopping me from me completely being myself and me completely embracing who I am, where I want to go, and who I want to be in the future? Oops. So through life coaching, I worked on highlighting some core values of myself. Freedom is something that is my number one value because I sought freedom all my life. I wanted to be free in my skin, free as a person. I don't mean free as in, I do whatever the hell I want. No, it's about me being free in my own skin and knowing who I am and expressing that throughout my life. Fire and drive. So whatever drives me, whatever excites me, I continue to do. Independence, of course. Independence is something that I really, really value in my life, whether it's doing something for myself, living alone, finances, etc., not depending on other people, doing my own laundry, making my bed in the morning, I forgot. And of course, getting to know myself. Continuously asking myself questions. Am I in the right place? Is this the right thing for me? It's not the right thing to do, not the right thing for other people. Is it the right thing for me? Because you always have to put yourself first. Of course, through that, the most important thing is changing your vocabulary. So when I decided to move to Spain, I didn't tell people, I might be going to Spain. I'm not sure, but I want to. It was like, no, it's done. I am going to Spain. I am leaving the country. I am following my dreams. I am going to make it to the CrossFit Games, So I have to. You have to is for other people, not for yourself. Something that you want and you're willing is yourself. So if you're doing something that you should do, who is telling you to do it? But if you're doing things because you want to, because you are willing to, then that's a different story. Maybe or I might use the present tense. I will, I am. Uncertainty creates a different frequency, and frequencies and energies create portals. That's something completely, out of topic, but when it creates different portals, it creates a different future for yourself. So be certain and be assertive and demanding of what you really want. Blaming the outside, this is something that I did all the time. I blamed this athlete for taking too many steroids. That's why I didn't make it. I blame that person for ruining my business. I blame that person for treating me like this. I blame that person. But it's not about anybody that is on the outside. It is not external. All of that have their own responsibilities to take. Whatever intentions they are, you bless them, you move on, you take responsibility of how you feel. How do I feel about that person cheating in my sport? It makes me feel angry, gives me a purpose to really push myself to stay clean and do it the right way. So changing that perspective, instead of blaming other people, you take responsibility of how you feel about the situation. And you take decisions from there. So growing up, fight was a big word in my life. I was constantly fighting. I was fighting against people, fighting against structure, fighting against society, fighting against people. Then I began fighting with myself, fighting to stay alive, fighting to wake up in the morning, fighting to be myself. And through changing my vocabulary, through loving myself, I changed the way I saw the word fight. So I fight for what I believe in. I fight for what's good for me, for what's best for me, for the life that I desire. So changing a word really can change your perspective and change your outlook on not only your life, but even your daily thing. Even like sitting at home, washing the dishes. So I've learned to be selfish. And selfish is a bad word, isn't it? Of course you. What does the word selfish mean to you? Does anybody want to contribute? Putting yourself first. There is a negative connotation that is behind the word selfish. Being selfish means you don't care about others. Being selfish is that you don't care about the society. You don't care about your country. It all has to do with yourself. And when you think about yourself, you're becoming selfish. But for me, changing that word really changed who I was, because for me, I was always trying to be selfless. Being selfless means I'm constantly giving to other people, giving. And through giving that energy to other people, of course, I was losing myself. But I needed to understand what the word selfish was. By being selfish, I can completely be myself and inspire people. By being selfish, I can follow my dreams and encourage other people to follow their dreams. By being selfish, I'm putting myself first to get to where I want to be. And serving other people through the talks as well. So being selfish is not a bad thing. It's really important to think about the words selfless and selfish. It's one. It can be give and take. You can be selfless, handing out plastic bags and taking selfies and posting it on Instagram. But that's not being selfless. So changing what that means to you can really change your outlook on life and really put yourself first. Because when you're not putting yourself first, you're really abandoning yourself. And when I started really being one with myself, giving myself time, meditating, praying, whatever that it is, I was getting downloads from the universe. They call it downloads from the universe. It's whatever words that are being channeled through whatever source through you for you to send a message. And I was getting this for months and months, and I would write it down in my notes, or I would post it on Instagram. And something that I thought of a few days ago was abandoning yourself. If other people's opinions are more important than yours and your truth, you are abandoning yourself. If you put other people's comfort and happiness before yours, you are abandoning yourself. If you are living for other people and not for yourself, you're abandoning yourself, your truth, and your purpose on earth. You will never abandon your child. Think of yourself as your own child. You need to care, love, and protect yourself. And that's it.